Strymon, you have out-Strymoned yourself on this one. This is a big win. I've been using this pedal for a few months now. I feel like it's worthy of a full-on review. And this is a comment that I got from another NighSky video. It just encapsulates this pedal so well. First off, genius move not making it a replacement to the Big Sky. It's more of a cool sibling that does drugs and got into synths. I wouldn't classify this as a classic reverb, that's for sure. Just the design, the way it's built, it's a lot more of an extended synthesis of your synth or DAW setup. If you'd like to stick in the Strymon realm and you're looking for more of a classic style reverb, then I would definitely go with the Big Sky instead of the NighSky. But synthesis, great for me. This is my first official impression. There's already plenty of specs and control videos out there, so we won't be focusing too much on that in this video. The focus will be mainly on how it sounds, how it embellishes any audio source that you put through it. If you would like to jump to something specific, chapters are linked in the description. Proud to announce that I now have a Patreon. You're welcome to join the community. We'd love to have you on board. And a big thank you to today's sponsor, DistroKid. They are a music distribution platform that's specifically designed for independent artists and producers. I use their free promotional tools on pretty much every single one of my releases. We'll be getting onto how they're helpful later in this video. Let's get the specs out of the way. This is a digital reverb pedal for starters, MIDI in and out in the back, and there's a USB MIDI input as well. Stereo in, stereo out, which is very helpful, especially if you're sending your effects through a mixer like the Model 1.4. Top left here is modulation, so you could choose what target you would like to control, and there's 6 waves here to choose from. You can get some really interesting sparse, like ambient effects if you target pitch and choose scale. And that's something we'll definitely be taking a look at in a bit. Decay is where you can control the core quality of the reverb. So there's 3 textures to choose from: sparse, dense, and diffuse. You've also got decay length right here, as well as size and pitch. Tone, this is where you're able to control the equalization of the reverb. So there's a low cut, there's also a high cut. So adjusting the low and high frequency information within your reverb. The voice section controls the harmonic structure of the reverb. So right here you have shimmer. This is the mix knob for shimmer. You could just mix that right in. You're also able to choose the interval of the shimmer. So if you want it to be an octave down, right down the middle, octave up, perfect fifth, perfect fourth. So you can get some really interesting harmonic textures here. And of course the mix section. This is another reason why the NighSky works so well as an effects send. In particular with a mixer, if you want, you could just drop the dry level down to 0, reverb all the way up to 100%. If you're just getting 100% wet signal, it essentially acts as like a bus in a DAW, a bus send. Wowee, let's get into some textures. First thing we'll look at, so here is the riff that we're working with for this particular example. Here's what it sounds like, just the reverb with these particular settings. So just in that example, there's a lot going on. Let me break it down for you. Quantize is set to scale. Target is set to pitch. So if the depth is at 0, you're just gonna hear like a regular reverb. There's no sort of jumping scale thing happening. If I turn the depth up, and I could change the speed of that scale. If I hit this white square here, I could actually choose the scale that I want. Change the shape to random. at this point, this is quite intense. If I turn this down, the depth, it's there, but it's a lot more subtle. And I would argue a lot more musical in this case. Let's turn up the dry. It almost has that sort of like cassette wobbly tape sort of effect, which if you watch this, you know I'm a fan of this. So that's a good starting point. We have a whole extra layer to add over top of this if we'd like. Shimmer. You have a whole new set of parameters to shape this texture even more. Let's hit play. This is gonna sound weird. Major second. Let's try this. Yeah. It's a little bit dissonant maybe. So here, I'm gonna go to perfect fifth. I'm gonna take that drive off. Interesting. Let's try an octave up. Oh. Maybe change the scale. An octave down. Pretty much right away, a few minutes in, it's not hard to land somewhere beautiful with these controls. And to me, that's the sound. This sort of approach, I think, is the highlight of the NighSky. It's the most practical way of using it, in my opinion. It's the way that, personally, I've been using it the most, and for this reason alone, I think that the pedal is worth it. Sound design and synthesis. Basically all of the controls that we just touched on and more. You could assign that to a simple tone, record that into the pedal. To be honest, so far this has been more of like a fun use of the pedal. It's not so much a practical musical tool that you could use like in a practical setting. But at least not yet. Maybe I just haven't found like the correct way of using it in that way. But the function is there just to have fun with and essentially dive into synthesis with the NighSky. So I'll just record a sound in directly from the OP1. We don't need this dry knob, so it's just pure reverb at this point. And what if we change, we were currently on pitch, what if we change this to filter, and I'm gonna change the shape. Could change the pitch as well. Right, and the pitch is changing according to whatever scale we have selected. So if I go back to scale 1, I think that's the pentatonic scale. And what if we went back to pitch again? Yeah, definitely pentatonic. Let's go to random. And let's thicken this up a little bit. So just a really interesting texture designer here. Of course, if you want, you could have your pattern play over top of this. This might be a little bit messy. Let's try it. Yeah, that's not gonna work. We're gonna go back to filter. This might make more sense. You get the point. An extension of what we just did, the NighSky also has really interesting sequencing capabilities, which we're gonna take a look at. But before that, let's talk about today's sponsor, DistroKid. Here's a few reasons why you should be using DistroKid as opposed to other music distribution platforms, especially if you're an independent artist or producer. Firstly, they're on the cutting edge of social media and new music promotional tools. They're definitely the pioneers in that sense because their platform depends on people like us, independent artists and producers, to use these tools to promote our own music. The amount of stores or streaming platforms that DistroKid distributes to is insane. And they also keep up to date with smaller or up and coming platforms that you might not even know about or have access to. So a perfect example of this is a platform called KKBox, which DistroKid distributes to. You think that Spotify is my biggest streaming earner, but it's actually not. KKBox is, so thank you DistroKid for keeping track of that. Also, banking info and withdrawal is very easy to set up. DistroKid does not take a cut. They deliver 100% of streaming royalties to you, no extra charge. Independent artists and producers, there is a reason why DistroKid distributes 1/3 of the world's music. And continuing further into synthland, the NightSky has an interesting sequencer. Let's dive in. So I'll throw something back into the buffer. That's our sound. I'm gonna hold down on this, and now you have 8 slots to sequence with. Going back to the pitch setting, I could actually isolate each of these. So I'm just choosing random notes. Kind of sounds like bagpipes. So those notes have all been set, but how do I play this? So this is where the tap tempo comes in. And of course, while this is playing, you can change any setting that you want, which is fun. There we go. So another interesting texture designer, I might want to slow this down. It's got too much of a bagpipe feel to it. I think it's because it's pentatonic. Here, I'll change that. Right, so I think with some experimentation, you'd be able to find some interesting textures here, interesting sequences, interesting harmonics. If I want, I could remove these notes to make it like an odd time pattern. Right, it just skips over the note. It's not like an empty slot or a rest. So that's another feature that I haven't really wrapped my head around to use in a musical way, but it's there. It's cool to understand just how to do this sort of thing. So far, everything has been like melodic, harmonic textures. We need to hear some drums to this thing. Let's take a look. And so that is my first impression. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope that you had as much fun as I did making this video. I have a Patreon with tons of exclusive content. I'm also offering discounts on one-on-one lessons through the Patreon, so go check that out. There are purchase affiliate links in the description for all of the gear mentioned in this video, so the NightSky, the drum log, as well as the OP1 field. If you end up using those links, I make a small commission from that sale. No extra charge to you. Great way of supporting. It really does help this channel, so that would be greatly appreciated. That's about it, guys. Thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, all the things. Okay, bye. Ciao.